come from my personal phone.
Is there a study session?
Is it not on the agenda, the study session?
I got one.
All right, good evening and welcome to the Crestwood School Board of Education Study Session Meeting, October 14, 2024. Mr. Secretary, can we get a roll call?
Trustee Amon is here. Trustee Baidoon? Here. Trustee Fawaz?
Here.
Trustee Janoon?
Here.
Trustee Saba?
Here.
Trustee Williamson?
Here.
Madam President?
Here.
They're all here.
Okay, Dr. Mosallam, we'll turn it over to you for updates and Crestwood School District bond updates.
All right, thank you, Madam President, thank you, Board. So today's study session, I'd like to go through the PowerPoint presentation, and I'm gonna go quicker than I usually do during the forums. But I wanted to do this at a live board meeting. We've hosted a forum at Hillcrest, Highview, Kinloch, and then this one says Early Childhood Center, so I'm just gonna use the Early Childhood Center one for this evening. Wednesday this week, 2 days from today at 6 p.m., we're at Riverside Middle School, and we're hoping to get a very large crowd this Wednesday because there's a lot of questions out there that we've been answering through the forum. And will tell you that myself, I know many of you board members as well, have been talking to community. Mr. Rashid Baidoon has been in conversations with community members. We've had several, one-on-one meetings, phone conversations, gone to sit over a cup of coffee to talk about the bond. This is something that we've been doing since the board approved for us to move forward. And our goal this Wednesday is really is to continue the same conversation we've had at every forum, but also to answer some questions or and to relay information that will hopefully eliminate a lot of some false information that is floating around, and that's really what's important. I've always said that as a school district, our goal is to inform the community of the bond, answer any questions that have to do with the bond, and whatever our community members feel is best for our community, themselves, the students. Hopefully, we gave and we continue to give them substantial information. So we talked about the basics. I mean, something that's different this year that I'd like to focus on real quick is early voting. Early voting in Dearborn Heights is going to be the first year for it. Starts October 26th, which is 12 days away. So in 12 days, people can go and vote early at the Canfield Center. Early voting is from October 26th through November 3rd. So that's something that is new. We talked about the bond committee. I think it's something that's very important that I'd like to reiterate, and I know the board knows this, but again, this is more for the community, and also hopefully if the community wants to go back and watch our YouTube page at another time, some of this information is there that will answer for them. But one thing that I emphasize, and I actually take some time during the forums to discuss, is how did we come up with the scope of the bond? And I explained that this isn't a bond that was created by Yusuf Mosallam. It's not a bond that was created by the Board of Education. It's not a bond that was created by 3-4 people. About 50 to 55 people responded to our invitations to be part of the Community Bond Committee. And I know there were 3 board members that were part of that bond committee as well. And through this conversation, we averaged at least 40-something community members at each meeting. And in that meeting, the community had an opportunity to discuss and identify what they believe our school district needed. While that meeting was occurring, up to that meeting and beyond that meeting, while it was occurring, the architectural firm that we're using, French & Associates, who came highly recommended by multiple superintendents in our area who have used them for bonds, they were going through all of our school buildings, as well as our transportation and warehouse center, and even our new early childhood center building. And they were compiling everything that our school district needed for items that were at end of life or near end of life. So what does that mean? As we all know, an HVAC system has a life expectancy. Usually they last you 15 to 20 years, let's say at home. After some point, you have to replace it. So they looked for everything in our district, from plumbing, HVAC, electrical, roofs, some of the windows in our new early childhood center, everything on what is at end of life or near end of life that needs to be changed out. They also they were in our high school when they saw between class time, when all the kids are crammed trying to get from one class to another. So they were putting their analysis together. One thing I say at every community forum is the beautiful thing that came out of this, almost 95 to 96% of the things that French and Associates said we needed, the bond committee also said we needed. So in the second meeting, we took all the information from the bond committee, and we then compared that with all of French and Associates information. And here was a nice thing. We talk about transparency. One of the things that us as a team here, all of us, the administration of the school board, is transparency. Every single item on the scope was broken down by cost. So if someone said, yeah, we need this, there was an estimated cost analysis on it. So in the second meeting, they were comparing the differences, they were highlighting, they were discussing, they were identifying what the priority 1, priority 2, and priority 3 were. In that second meeting, they identified those 3 priorities, they submitted them. In the third meeting, we came back, we looked at the priorities, and we identified within those 3 priorities what was anything that was a 1 and a 2. The committee, which actually, I'd be remiss if I don't say this, the committee was broken up into groups of 5 or 6, and in each group was like a student, a parent, a business owner, a staff member, a board member. So it was mixed groups. It wasn't as if I put, all the teachers together and all the parents together. It was mixed, so everybody can get everybody's feedback. So what we did was we looked at everything that was priority 1 and priority 2 and priority 3 and identified of those, what do we think we need to keep where they are, and where do we need to move them up, like a 3 to a 2, a 2 to a 1, so on and so forth, or leave everything where they were. The only thing that was a priority 3 that got kicked out right away were charging stations for cars at all the buildings. That was something that we put in because electric cars today, we thought, okay, maybe we can do that. Everybody said, Yusuf, get rid of those. I mean, the whole committee, so we got rid of them. Everything that was in priority 1 and priority 2, the committee said we need to keep. And they said because everything in there, we need these things. And these are things that we've needed for a long time. So ultimately, we looked at the different numbers. We looked at, okay, if you want everything that you're mentioning, it's 121 million. We talked about air conditioning for a very long time. And when we talked about air conditioning, and when I get to that slide, I'll discuss why the committee decided to keep it. But when you see the numbers, you'll see that it really didn't impact the cost to the bond as much as everyone thought, because air conditioning for our entire district is estimated at 10 million. So we talk about the snapshot of our district. It's very important that people know this. And one of the things that we emphasize about the 42% ELs, 78% economically distressed, and the 7% special education population, and that we're a very diverse community, is that right now in our schools, there's nowhere for the specialized teachers to really take these students and focus time with them. And a lot of those specialized teachers, they're literally working out of a closet that was transformed into a very small room with 1 table and 2 chairs. So when we're looking at creating spaces for all the students to have equitable education, that's where those numbers really come in. We also spend a lot of time on how we as a district have been fiscally responsible and what we've done since 2000. We started looking at things in 2020, but what we've done and completed since 2022. The $2.6 million grant with Train Energy Solutions. We've opened up 12 new classrooms in the elementary buildings, $9 million outdoor multi-purpose facility. We've completed our $7 million early childhood center, and our new offices will be done very soon. Actually, we should have our first board meeting in our new boardroom in December. So it's going to be really nice. And that's the last thing. That's $27 million worth of projects. Now let me talk about this $27 million, because those that come to the community forums know where this $27 million came from. First off, the 12 new classrooms, the early childhood center, all comes through ESSER funding. The ESSER funding is what we received in order to reduce class sizes, because one of the problems that we had, as you all know, during COVID, all of our classrooms were holding 30 to 32 kids on average, and there was nowhere for them to move. Through ESSER funding, we were allowed to build new classrooms to reduce class sizes. As the board is aware and the district is aware, is through that ESSER funding, we have focused our efforts in preschool through grade 2 to lower our class sizes. Right now, our average class sizes in K to 2 ranges between 24 and 26, but we have a spike in grade 2 at Kinloch because we've had some more enrollees come in. So we're above the 26 in grade 2 at Kinloch. So that was through ESSER funding. Now, I want to make something very clear to the community. We could not use ESSER funding to build a new school. That was a no. But I do want to say, to build a new elementary school, just an elementary school, would cost anywhere between $45 and $60 million. To build a new middle school, you're looking at $80 million to $120 million. To build a brand new high school, you're looking at $200 million. So even if ESSER funding allowed us to build a school, we wouldn't have had the funding, because not all $27 million was ESSER funding. When you look at the $9 million outdoor multipurpose complex, $500,000 came from the previous bond. In the scope of the work of the previous bond, there was $500,000. It was in the scope for the football field, the outdoor facility. So of that $9 million, we used $500,000 towards the outdoor multipurpose facility. $8.5 million came from us through our general funding, our cost-effective analysis, our ability to use grant funds in other places to support building that. So I wanted to clear the rumor out there that, there was $30 million that wasn't used appropriately. That $30 million that is being discussed is actually the $27 million I just spoke about, and there were specific expectations for it. And as the board is aware, the board has been aware of this since the very beginning. Every project, we've presented it to the board.
Dr. Masalam, I know we looked at this once before, but what was the cost of renovation had you decided to go with the Berwyn Center?
Berwyn Center, just to walk in, not to do everything that was needed to get done, was estimated to be about $25 million. And that wasn't even really seeing what was behind all the walls. So it would have been $25 million just for the Berwyn Center. But again, none of that money could have been used for Berwyn, because you could only use that money to build new classrooms to lower class sizes. I mean, I don't want to skip this slide too fast, but I think it's very important that everyone has to understand. Trustee Sabo says it all the time, and I love it. I use it now. We have a Ferrari engine in the body of an Escort. Our district is really moving in the right direction. We have more to do. We're nowhere near where we want to be. We continuously want to grow. But for what our students and our staff do, we want to put them in the best facilities to even do more. A lot of people talk about the last bond. I have been very clear in every community forum that the last bond did what it needed to do at that time. The last bond, it needed to fix some specific end-of-life elements of our district, which it did. When our administration came in, we were able to reallocate $1.7 million to these areas of things that were in the scope of the bond, but that we knew had to be done right away. And I'm going to give you an example. $802,000 in new fire alarms. That is an absolute necessary. Another thing too is you say, well, what are surveys? Our schools didn't have land surveys in order for us to develop our new blueprints and for our emergency planning. So these are some of the different things that we were able to cover with the previous bond when we closed it out. So this is the document that shows the costs, so on and so forth. And one of the things that it says up this, everything we've talked about when it comes to mills, it says estimated. And we make sure we reiterate, it's estimated. It has every single taxable value up to $500,000 in taxable value. Now I want to just talk real quick about taxable value. If I buy a home today, and I buy for $500,000. My taxable value is probably going to be close to $250,000. It's usually close to 50%, give or take. But if I've been living in my home for the last 30 years, and my home is appraised at 300,000, my taxable value isn't not necessarily going to be 150,000. I mean, there's a lot of different facets that play into it. We are using these numbers as averages. That's what these numbers are. They're estimated averages. And we always refer around the $100,000 30 mil rate at 5.32, which is $44 and some change a month that it'll cost that taxpayer. What we also emphasize during the forums is we talk about the air conditioning piece. The reason why the committee said, let's just do it all, because between the air conditioning, the new baseball field, the new softball field, those three things, we're gonna eliminate about $13–14 million. Well, if you eliminate the 13 to 14 million, you go from 121, let's say you go to the 110, you're looking at a difference of about $1.50, almost $2 estimated per month for the taxpayer. So the committee said, you know what, Dr. Masalam, Yusuf, let's just go for it all. Let's do it right. People always ask me, one of the questions that always comes up during the FAQ is, are you gonna come back to us for another bond? My response is, the only time I foresee us needing more money is if we have a huge influx of students that come to our district. And I'm talking about like 500 to 600 students. But we don't foresee that. But what I also explain at the community forums is that our bond is approved by Treasury. They approve the mill rate. They approve the taxable value. They also approve if the scope of our bond is necessary for our district. When they look at our projection averages, they don't foreshadow or foresee our projections going up 500–600 kids. Therefore, if I came to them and said, I want to build these many classrooms just in case we get 500 more kids, it'll be denied. So we have to go off of the projections that we have.
Dr. Masalam, is there any relief or plan for relief that would be given or granted to, like, say, the 78% economically disadvantaged people?
In terms of relief, what do you mean? I'm sorry.
In terms of their yearly taxes going up, for example. I'm just thinking, like, if we have that, I mean, I thought it was lower, but that kind of took me by surprise. 78%, like, I guess, how would people like that handle such an increase?
Well, there's so many different variables, I really can't answer that. And the different variables come into play. Well, what is the taxable value of the home? Are they renting? Are they living with someone? I mean, there's a lot of variables.
I'm sorry, wait, but are you suggesting that people's taxes are going up 78% because of the
No,
bond? Oh,
he's saying there's 78% of our community that are economically disadvantaged. I'm just wondering if there's something we could do with the city for the people that are at a certain income or level or something like that.
Yeah, that's something that we have no control over. That would totally go through the taxation system and the assessors.
does the city currently have a program for people who can't afford their taxes?
There are people that don't pay taxes because of certain circumstances, yes.
Do you know what those are?
No. I know one of them has to do with the military. Other than that, I don't know.
Then they would still fall, then that exemption would still be valid for this. They're not gonna tell them, so it doesn't work where you're exempt from this, but you have to pay the tax of what the bond is, right?
Right.
So if I'm exempt right now because I'm considered low income, or I meet the exemptions for not being able
This
to
one
afford
affects-
my taxes, and then I get exempt from paying taxes, when the bond passes, then I'm still exempt.
Correct.
Right.
That wouldn't affect
Right.
anybody that's exempt. It would affect somebody that, say, if I'm paying $200 and now I'm paying $600. You know, and if I'm economically disadvantaged, right, that $600 is gonna make a big difference for me, right?
Yeah, but I don't think that the bond and your regular increase in taxes make, I'm just saying.
Anyway.
Sorry.
Yeah, there's a lot
Go
of
ahead.
variables. One thing about our district, the fact that all of our schools were built in the 60s, it makes it easier for us with equitability. As you can see here, all three of our elementary schools need about the same amount of support because of the age of the buildings and the age of the interior infrastructure. Our middle school, and then you see our high school has the largest, because that has the largest need for renovations, it's our largest building. And then the early childhood center, We're gonna be expanding classrooms and updating some of, our windows on the opposite side of not where the new construction is. So we talked about, it's gonna enhance classroom environments, our electrical grid. I give everybody this example because they need to know. If you walk into our classrooms, you find one outlet in every classroom.
Yeah.
And we can't charge our laptops. Our poor tech team has to figure things out beyond what their, accessibility is to make things happen, to make things work. We have to enhance our electrical grid. If we're gonna use our technology and we wanna use technology correctly, our electrical grid cannot handle it right now. HVAC systems we talked about, so on and so forth. I mean, then we talk about, here are some of the pictures, these are end of life or near end of life. These are just some examples. I mean, there are so many more. There's like 100 more pictures that Rashid has. The air conditioning piece, I want to reiterate, we start earlier in the school year, we end later in the school year, and you have to realize when we have these very hot days, we're losing instruction time because kids are burnt out by time 1 o'clock rolls around, if not sooner.
In reference to this slide, any of these, imminent danger where we can't wait for the bond and we have to fix now?
Well, if we don't get the bond, a lot of, if you look at the top left picture, that's a main water line over at Highview. That could fail at any moment. So the thing is, if we get the bond, we cover the cost of the bond. If we don't get the bond, every item that we need to fix is money taken away from our children. Because you have to understand, of all of our funding, close to 86 to 87% of all of the money we receive goes towards people, staffing, insurance, all of the fringe benefits. And then whatever's left over, that 13, 14%, we have to divide up between maintenance and custodial and curriculum. So the thing is, people ask, our thing is, if districts go for a bond like this, so that we're not taking money out of the classrooms away from kids, because every time something breaks, let's say it's a $500,000 cost. That's $500,000 that's away from our kids.
I'm just thinking if there was if there is a safety concern, that we not wait, for the bond.
Yeah, no,
If there was something immediate that we needed to do.
I'll give you an example. Part of the bond is a brand new elevator here, but we're not waiting to fix it. We've ordered the part. We're waiting on the part. It's going to cost us, I think, about $3,500, $4,000. Right? What was that? More like $8,000.
Oh, wow.
We have to fix it because it's a necessity. It's an emergency.
Right, okay.
Okay, so we're going to fix that immediately. But if the bond passes, we're going to put a whole new elevator system in.
So let me ask you a follow-up question to that, Dr. Musalam. So if something does happen and we need to replace it, we'll call it the water line, the pipeline you're talking about there, and it's $700,000. And you need to dip into the fund balance. 'Cause
Correct.
it's coming from general funds. And we can't do it because it'll take us below the minimum threshold. What do we do?
Still have to take it. You don't have a choice.
Okay, so now we're below the minimum threshold. What happens at the state level?
Well, what happens is, first off, if we go below 17%, the auditors will basically make it very clear that we are below a certain percentage. If we go down to 6%, 5%, the state can come in and put a corrective action plan in place.
And I'm not playing, I'm gonna play devil's advocate for a second, I'm not gonna, so another issue comes up and it costs $3 million. Because these things happen in facilities this size. What do we do then?
The worst case scenario then is we'd have to go to the state and ask for a loan, but it's not guaranteed we'd get a loan because our fund balance would be so low and our operating budget would be at odds.
Did we not do that in 2011 here for Riverside?
I don't remember which year, but I know it was between 2010, 2012 that the district did get a loan from the state of Michigan to fix Riverside, yes.
Wasn't it for windows and other?
I don't have that, but
I
yeah.
remember because it caught me off guard when I first came on the board as to why we were making this payment. And Ms. Morgan said it's for a loan. I said, well, nobody voted on that bond. She said, it's not a bond, it's a loan that the board had to add. I said, well, who's paying for that? She said, the general fund. So if these things aren't done, the general fund, which is an easy number to come up with every year because we multiply the number of students by X, which is what the state is going to give us. Anything that comes after that comes from the students and/or a loan that we're gonna have to pay back anyway, which affects our general fund
Which includes interest, yes.
with interest. So that interest is also a part of the payment from the general fund.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. So to move forward, we talked about the upgrades to the systems, the computer, safety and security. Something that I emphasize with everyone is our elementary schools are all going to get classrooms, new cafeterias, new gyms, and new kitchens. Our elementary schools do not have kitchens. Their kitchen is a closet where they just prep food. This will give our elementary students, first and foremost, K-5, our fifth graders will come back to our elementary schools, a gym that is separate from the lunchroom, because right now they use both, and it literally, our custodial team has to switch that gym to a lunchroom within 10 minutes and clean it and vice versa, and it'll give them cafeterias, kitchens where food can be made and prepped in a real kitchen, not prepped in another school and shipped over and just get ready to be passed
It would
out.
be hotter and fresher.
Yes, it'd be hotter and fresher. Thank you, yeah, simple.
I just know we've gotten questions about that.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. And then safety and
Some people
security.
who don't want to vote for the bond, I'm sorry.
No, you're
I'm
right.
done.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
no, you're right. The other piece behind this too is it's gonna help our elementary teachers and our students tremendously. Fifth graders need to be in elementary school. 10, 11-year-olds need to continue in their elementary school housed as a home school, because then our teachers can work as a true PLC. There are 3 times in a child's transition that truly impacts the social emotional. Their kindergarten year, which I think it impacts the parents more than the kids. Going from 5th grade to 6th grade, and then going from 8th grade to 9th grade. Which is why in the high school, we're gonna be building a 9th grade academy with 10 additional classrooms in the front of the building to support those 9th graders, but also to reduce the congestion in the hallways and in the classrooms at the high school. That is why our high schools right now are one-way hallways, because we can't have the kids in there. So real quick, I know we're running close to time. These are the number of classrooms that every school will get. 4 at early childhood, 5 Kinloch, 5 Highview, 3 Hillcrest. Hillcrest, where you have that dip where the playground is, the goal is to fill that up, move the playground to the field behind the school, which will give them space to do all these different things. And with all 3 of our elementary schools, high school and middle school, there will be adjusted parking routes, bus loops, and parking. That's early childhood. Just so you know, all the elementary schools will have fencing around the entire school, including the early childhood. Talked about Riverside Middle School. One of the big things we're going to do at Riverside as well is we're going to bring in CTE, medical/nursing, criminal justice, public education, and IT/AI. And the idea behind it is these are future jobs, and we want to get kids started in those as soon as possible.
They'll just be housed at Riverside, they're not for Riverside.
No,
students.
they'd be housed at Riverside, yes. Talked about the high school. The high school going to also get a new auditorium, new band facility and complex, a new multi-purpose gym. We're no longer, it's like we're playing a game in the movie Hoosiers. We're going to actually be able to pull out the visitor side. The school can't do anything with large events because there's nowhere to house the kids, and we won't have to send our wrestling matches to Hype Athletics anymore. We can actually have our wrestling matches at the high school, which will also include new locker rooms, new weight room, new STEM and science labs. But additionally, where this will also help us too is, I always say this at every event, I tell everyone I appreciate Mike Mackey, because in the wintertime, our kids hold gym class at Elite Sports at no cost to our school district, because there's nowhere for our kids to go.
Thank you, Mike.
Yeah, talked about them up. And then the final up, we have our next meeting October 16th at Riverside, 6 p.m. We start like right at 6, give or take 5 minutes, 10 minutes. And then our final presentation will be at Crestwood High School on October 23rd. And then beyond both of those presentations, we'll be going into the final week prior to election. And what we have been doing is all informational, but there is a parent group that is supporting the campaign. They're a separate entity. They're supporting the campaign. They're the one with the school signs, so on and so forth. I want to thank those parents for all the work that they're doing, because they're doing things that as parents they can do. Us as a school district, we're purely informational, giving the voters the information they need so they can make an educated choice. Sorry, Madam President, went over 2 minutes, but that's my presentation.
No worries. Thank you very much. Okay, what we'll do now is close our study session if we could.
Motion to adjourn.
Support.
Okay. Recommended motion by trustee Amen, supported by trustee Baidoon, that we will adjourn the study session at 6:03 PM. And we're gonna go right into our regularly scheduled meeting, if that's okay? Okay. So, Dr. Mosallam, I know you might be a little panicked because you saw your whole family show up today. But I talked to Rashid last week, and we wanted to take some time to honor your accomplishment, and we wanted to surprise you with having your whole generation here.
He did better than we did. He was like, right? I was
Yeah, you did really good, really good.
You know, people are gonna think I like the attention.
So don't panic. I'm gonna start the meeting.
Okay.
Okay, but don't, I
Thank
just
you.
didn't want you to panic seeing
Thank
everybody there. So, all right. Good evening and welcome to the Crestwood School District Board of Education meeting, October 14, 2024. I'll call the meeting to order at 6:04 PM. Mr. Secretary, can we get a roll call, please?
Trustee Amen is here. Trustee Baidoon? Here. Trustee Fawaz?
here.
Trustee Janoon?
Here.
Trustee Seba?
Here.
Trustee Williamson? Here. Madam President?
Here.
We are all here.
Thank you. Pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Mr. Secretary, can we get the consent agenda, please?
Recommended action. Board of Education approval is recommended for the items listed on the consent agenda, which include October 14, 2024 board agenda, the minutes from the regular meeting on Monday, September 16, 2024, and the check register for September 1st through to September 30, 2024.
Support.
Recommended action by Secretary Amen, supported by Trustee Janoon, that the Crestwood Board of Education approval is recommended for the items listed on the consent agenda, which include the October 14th, 2024 board agenda, the minutes from the regular meeting on Monday, September 16, 2024, and the check register for September 1st through September 30th, 2024. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Approved. Thank you. Okay, so the next item on our agenda is special presentation, Board of Education. So I first wanted to start off by saying thank you to Dr. Mosallam's friends and family who came and joined us today at this meeting for this auspicious occasion. We appreciate it. Dr. Mosallam, on behalf of the board, I just wanted to say again, congratulations on your remarkable accomplishment. For those of you that don't know, the United States houses over 17,000 school districts, just over 17,000 school districts in the nation. And our district, our superintendent, was picked number 1 out of all of those 17,000. So I know that most of us had our kids grow up in this school district. We raised our kids here. They graduated here. We've always heard things about Crestwood District. I don't know about you guys. I was a mother here for 20 years. And this district, I would say, has come light years since Dr. Mosallam has joined the district. And I don't say that lightly. When I feel, that my kids didn't get a chance to have you as a superintendent, and I will always regret that. But I'm happy that all the other kids and the future kids of this district get to have you as a superintendent, Dr. Mosallam. I think that you've dedicated such time and effort, you and your team. And I'll say your team, and I believe that they should get credit for this too, because they work under your leadership. And I've seen your leadership, and it's a testament to the progress that we've made in just that short 5 years. So, and also, happy anniversary on your 5 years. So without further ado, we do have some people who have joined us today and would like to say a few words. I'd like to call up Ms. Jen Ray, our Activities Director and Testing Coordinator for the Crestwood High School.
Jen, if you make me cry, we're gonna have a problem.
I made it short. Thank you for allowing me to come and say a few words. Dr. Musalam was hired in 2019, which was just a short 5 years ago. To remember where we were those short months before the pandemic to where we are now is a testament to Dr. Musalam's vision and leadership. When he first joined Crestwood, he brought a visionary perspective on the district's future. He carefully prioritized the steps needed to achieve his ambitious goals, dedicating each year to a specific focus that would bring us closer to realizing that vision. Dr. Musalam is data-driven and results-based. It is so easy to get sidetracked with the day-to-day operations, but he never lost sight of where the district is headed. We now have the support and procedures in place to allow educators to focus on what is most beneficial for learners. Dr. Musalam's leadership has brought continuity for our subjects from kindergarten to 12th grade. His focus on objectives, data, and what's best for our students is continually moving our district forward. He realizes that not all learning occurs in the classroom. His support of athletics and activities is creating future leaders, as evident by the $11 million in scholarships that our class of 2024 earned, the numerous early college admittance, and success of all of our graduates. Our students are empowered to make positive change in our community and beyond. Dr. Musalam fosters a culture of collaboration by actively listening to students, staff, parents, and community members, maintaining an open door policy to ensure everyone's voice is heard and valued. Congratulations, Dr. Musalam. It is nice that the nation finally realizes what we have known for quite a long time.
Thank you, Jen. Perfect words. Next up, we'd like to invite Mr. Brian Paul to the podium, fourth grade teacher at Highview Elementary and CFT president. Mr. Paul?
Madam President El-Zayat, august members of the Board of Education, distinguished guests and colleagues, it is a great privilege for me to stand before you today, both as a teacher and as the president of the Crestwood Federation of Teachers, to bear witness and honor one who has labored so hard for so much, for so many in our beloved district. I'm speaking, of course, of our district's first servant and the 2024 National Superintendent of the Year, Dr. Yusuf Musalam. You are most deserving of this prestigious accolade. And allow me to also add that with this recognition, you will serve admirably as your role as ambassador for the National Association for School Superintendents. When Dr. Musalam addresses the staff at the beginning of each school year, he goes out of his way to always start out by pointing out the contributions of every member of our district. With a very simple gesture, he demonstrates a code he lives by, putting others first. So although he bears the title of superintendent, he is fully cognizant that he is here to serve. Thus, when I said, our district's first servant, it was to pay you great respect for daily humbling yourself in your service to all of us. But let me speak about your leadership, and oh, how you have led us these past 5 years. Like a whirlwind, COVID hit just after you assumed this mantle of responsibility. In spite of the untold challenges it brought to your desk, you successfully navigated us through the pandemic and ushered in many positive changes. You secured millions of dollars through grants to achieve better energy efficiency throughout our district. You added 12 new classrooms to our elementary schools, opened up our $9 million multi-purpose facility at our high school, allowing many sports and programs for our high school students to flourish. With great financial ability as well, you partnered with surrounding universities to create revenue streams through this facility. And finally, you most recently completed the $7 million renovation of our early childhood center. As a teacher, I have seen vast changes brought in under your watch. Improvements in many curriculum areas throughout the pre-K-12 spectrum that are much more rigorous than before you arrived here, all to the benefit of our students. Additionally, you brought us to a one-to-one technology standard so students have the devices they need to function in our increasingly technological world. Sports, clubs, and organizations are better funded and have expanded, allowing rich extracurricular pursuits for our students. And oh, how they have flourished as well. Our talented students have led the way to robotics championships, national qualifications, award-winning drama performances for our creative arts students, National Honor Society awards, as well as multiple Ivy League scholars and graduating seniors securing millions of dollars in scholarship. 2 teacher contracts have been negotiated under your tenure. Each contract has successfully led to many improvements among the teaching staff. Just a few of these highlights are balanced planning time, better funded clubs and organizations, equitable time for professional learning communities, increased pay for teachers running extracurricular activities, successive increases in teaching salaries, and for the first time, the introduction of longevity pay. Furthermore, as president, I'm involved with many different administrators who report to you. I am happy to attest to the professionalism, promptness, and thoughtfulness each administrator conducts himself with when they interact with me. That is a testament that bears witness to your leadership. It is that guidance of yours in these remarkable administrators that I am very thankful for to work with. Now, lest my fellow teachers think I've drunk too much from the Kool-Aid, I'm not saying everything is perfect. We may not always agree, but I will assert
But we're recording this.
some friction. Some friction is good. Hopefully it helps us to drive whatever mutual goals we are working on. Drive them to a better way of enabling them and allowing them to happen. There's always going to be more work to do. But I resolutely declare, as president, teachers are far better off today than they were 5 years ago before you arrived. I tip my hat as well to Associate Superintendent Andrea O'Hara and Chief Financial Officer Penny Morgan, whom I work with on both of the contracts. One tiny hurdle, however, stands before you, and it's this 2024 bond proposal. You've tirelessly championed this cause by providing the community with a wealth of information and enhancements it will bring to our students. You have this information easily available for all to access on our website. As well, you have and continue to provide presentations on the bond proposals to each of our schools. Next one right here at Riverside this Wednesday at 6 o'clock. And then next week on the 23rd at 6 o'clock as well at Crestwood High School. May your strength continue to serve you, Dr. Masalam, for you are carrying the hopes of many with you. May God continue to bless you with boundless energy and health as you lead us sprinting across the finish line to that November 5th voting day. If it does not pass, please take heart to my unsolicited counsel. It will not be for lack of effort on your part. Allow me to offer this. Console yourself with these words from St. Paul. You have fought the good fight. You have finished the race. You have kept the faith. Now, its success will leave an indelible mark of prosperity and improvement upon our district and may well serve as your greatest legacy here. The direct recipients of that prosperity are our students who come to us from our cherished Crestwood families. To our beloved families, you provide us with the greatest gifts you have, your children. Each employee in this district is honored every day to teach them, feed them, comfort them, nurse them, and keep the place clean for them. No one keeps that more in focus than Dr. Masalam, as doing what is best for students is a mantra he lives by and guides all of his decisions. Students, you are by far the greatest treasure in our district. All of our energy and drive is to prepare each of you to be successful in your adult life. It is you, our students, who will reap the greatest reward from Dr. Masalam's tireless work on our bond proposal. I'd like to close with kind permission from you, Dr. Masalam, if I may address a few words to your family. Dear Dr. Masalam's family, on August 26th, on our first day of work, I was speaking with him and I was trying to set up a meeting with him and our union executive board that meets after school hours. Dr. Masalam was very receptive to the idea and he was showing great flexibility. But then he spoke up and said, wait, Thursday's the only day I can't do it. My son's playing freshman football on those days, so I've got to be there. So, whichever son that is, although you don't need me to tell you, he's got your back. What I'm trying to say to all of you, his family, is he hasn't lost sight that you come first. This is a day of great honor for your father, your husband, And with this, he has brought great prestige to our district and to your family. All of the employees, parents, and students have benefited from his selfless devotion to all of us, and we're so very grateful to him for that. However, I'm going to reach beyond my station and speak for all to say, on behalf of an entire community, it is all of you, his family, who we are most thankful for. We are cognizant that his time with us has taken away time from each of you. No matter how well he tries to balance it, I am sure you would wish to see more of him. I now close my remarks, and I invite any who wish to join me with this salutation. On behalf of a grateful community, we applaud all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Paul. Thank you. I had a speech, but Mr. Paul stole mine. Thank you. Next, I would like to say, on behalf of Commissioner David Kniezek, Yusuf, he was supposed to be here today, and he is very sick and unable to attend, so he sends you his regards. He also asked that I present you with this Wayne County, County of Wayne resolution honoring Dr. Yusuf Mosallam. It is with pleasure and privilege that we, the members of the Wayne County Commission, along with many grateful citizens, honor and congratulate Dr. Yusuf Mosallam on being named the National Association of Superintendents 2024 Superintendent of the Year. Commissioner Kniezek. And last but not least, so I did want to take a minute and say that, you know, I'd say on a daily basis, whoever the school board president is, can I take this out of here? Yes. So on a daily basis, whoever the school board president is gets to work with the superintendent, I would say the most, and is in the most communication with Yusuf. So as I sat and thought about some remarks that I wanted to make about Dr. Mosallam and what working with him on a daily basis is I remember some of the fights that we've gotten into. And I just want to say that Dr. Mosallam always has the student's best interest at heart. No matter what decision he's making, it all boils down to one thing, and that's the kids. And he always makes sure that the kids are the #1 priority, which I find to be the best way to make a decision, especially when you're working in a school district. We've gotten into some heated debates where if it had anything to do with even compromising the kids, Yusuf says to me, then it's time for the board to fire me. So that is somebody who is passionate. That is somebody who is betting his everyday livelihood on what he's doing and the belief that what he's doing is right and for the right reasons. So I appreciate that, Yusuf. The board appreciates you. When I called Yusuf to congratulate him on this award, he wouldn't even say thank you for himself. He just kept saying that this is a win for our students and this is a win for our community. So I would like to tell you here in front of everybody that yes, it is, but the biggest win is for you and for us, that we get to have you as our superintendent. Yusuf has this magical ability, I call it. I have talked to people who have said, I hate Dr. Mosallam. I hate that guy, right? And then I say, well, have you talked to him? No. Well, how can you hate somebody you haven't talked to? Yusuf will talk to this person, and I swear to you, I will see them within an hour, within 2 hours, within 1 day, 1 week. I love Dr. Mosallam. That guy's the best thing that happened here. We're so lucky to have him. So he has this magical ability to talk to people, to figure out what their concerns are, and to address their concerns, not just sweep them under the rug and hope that they'll go away. In fact, most of our text messages are me telling him, you're giving these people too much attention. Stop going back and forth. No, it's okay. I'm going to answer all their questions. Okay. So once again, congratulations on behalf of the Board of Education. We'd like to present you with this, Yusuf. Presented to Dr. Yusuf Mosallam, NASS 2024 National Superintendent of the Year, in recognition of your visionary leadership, unwavering dedication, and tireless commitment to the students, staff, and community of the Crestwood School District. Your passion for education and innovative spirit have inspired us all, and your impact will be felt for generations to come. Presented to you with gratitude, Crestwood Board of Education, Danielle Elzayat, President. Take a picture. Also, Yusuf, I did want to remind you of one thing. For those of you that don't know, Yusuf and I's families originated, so like our ancestors come from the same town. And when I think about what's going on in the world today, and I think about the way Yusuf fights for the students here in our district on a day-to-day basis, I just wanted everyone to know that we come from the town of resistance, so that is not new for us, it's in our blood. Oh, and then can I actually get a motion to recess, and then we're gonna come back to the meeting?
So support.
Okay, thank you. So, motion to go into recess by trustee Sabah, supported by trustee Baydoun. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you. We're gonna recess and come back. Probably